The mining station floated quietly around Europa, one of Jupiter's frozen moons. From the observation deck, the ice below looked beautiful. Captain Minho Park stood there with his morning coffee, watching the sun rise over the giant planet. He had been station commander for 3 years now. It was a good life, peaceful and far from Earth's crowded cities. "Captain, we have something strange on the scanners." Hana Choi's voice came through his communicator. She was the communications officer, and she sounded worried. Minho walked quickly to the command center. The station was small. Only 12 people lived and worked there. They were miners, scientists, and engineers. None of them were soldiers. They had never needed to be. Hana pointed at her screen. "There's a ship approaching." "It's big. Really big. And it's not human." The room went silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing. First contact. They had all dreamed about this moment. Humanity had been searching for alien life for centuries. They had found bacteria on Mars and simple organisms in the oceans beneath Europa's ice. But intelligent life? This was it. This was history. "Get everyone to the command center," Minho said. His hands were shaking with excitement. "Hana, prepare a greeting message. Use the standard first contact protocols." Dr. Sora Kim arrived first. She was the medical officer, a kind woman who always had a smile. "Is it really happening?" she asked. "It's happening," Minho replied. One by one, the crew gathered. Jiho Lee, the engineer who could fix anything. Daeho Kang, the miner who always had funny stories. Yuna Song, who grew plants in the station's greenhouse. Taeho Nam, their security officer, though he had never had much to secure. Nari Han, the young researcher who loved studying Jupiter's storms. Wu Jinbei, their shuttle pilot. Gina Ryu, who kept their air and water clean. Hyunwoo Shin, the technician. And Una Oh, the apprentice who was always eager to learn. 12 people. 12 humans about to meet aliens for the first time. The alien ship was massive. It looked like a dark metal spear, covered in weapons and armor. It was a warship. That made some of them nervous, but Minho stayed calm. "Maybe they're just careful," he said. "We would be too, meeting a new species." Hana sent the greeting message. It contained images of Earth humans and symbols of peace. Mathematics and science to show they were intelligent. Music and art to show they were more than just technology. They waited. Minutes passed. Then an hour. "They're responding," Hana said suddenly. Her face went pale. "Captain, it's not a greeting. They're demanding we surrender." "Surrender?" Jiho said. "Why would we surrender? We're not at war." The alien message was translated by their computers. It was short and brutal. The aliens called themselves the Valkyran Empire. They said this system now belonged to them. All humans must submit or die. Taiho stepped forward. "Captain, our weapons are mining lasers and some small arms. If they attack, we can't defend ourselves." Minho's mind raced. "Send another message. Tell them we're peaceful. Tell them we want to talk, to understand each other." Hana sent the message. This time the response came faster. The alien ship fired. The first blast hit the station's east wing. The explosion threw everyone to the floor. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. The air started to smell like burning metal. "Everyone to the emergency pods," Minho shouted, but it was too late. The second blast hit the command center directly. The walls exploded inward. Hana was thrown against the far wall and didn't get up. Nari screamed as debris fell on her legs, trapping her. Minho's ears were ringing. He could taste blood. Through the smoke, he saw Taiho trying to pull Nari free. Zora was crawling toward Hana, checking for a pulse she wouldn't find. The third blast tore through the living quarters. Yuna and Gina were there. They died instantly, crushed by the collapsing structure. The greenhouse Yuna loved so much became her tomb. Jiho and Hyunwoo tried to reach the emergency controls, hoping to seal the breaches. Another explosion cut them down. Jiho was still reaching for the panel when the fire took him. Daeho and Woojin made it to the shuttle bay. For a moment they thought they might escape. But the Valkyran ship fired again and the bay exploded. The shuttle that Woojin had piloted so skillfully became a fireball. Yunha, the youngest of them all, was in the storage section. She heard her friends dying over the communicator. She heard their screams, their last words. She tried to send a distress signal to Earth, her fingers shaking as she worked the controls. She managed to activate it just before the final blast hit. Taiho got Nari free. He held her as the station fell apart around them. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm supposed to protect people." "You tried," Nari said. Blood was running from her mouth. Tell Earth. Tell them we tried to be peaceful. But neither of them would tell anyone anything. The station's reactor breached. The explosion was bright and brief, 17 minutes. That's how long it took for the Valkyrin to kill 12 unarmed humans. Captain Minho's last thought was of Earth. He hoped someone got the distress signal. He hoped humanity would know what happened here. As the cold of space filled his lungs, he reached for a photograph in his pocket. His family. He would never see them again. On the Valkyrin warship, Commander Thexcal watched the human station die. He felt satisfied. Another species conquered. Another system claimed for the Empire. His crew cheered. "Record this," Thexcal ordered. "Let the Empire see how weak these humans are." One station. 12 creatures. They barely fought at all. The Valkyrin had conquered 47 star systems. They had destroyed hundreds of ships and thousands of warriors. These humans were nothing special. Just another weak species that would kneel or die. Thexcal had the recording sent across the Valkyrin communications network. He wanted everyone to see his victory. He wanted other species to fear the Valkyrin Empire. He made a terrible mistake. 4 hours later, the distress signal reached Earth. Yunha had managed to send it. Her last act saved nothing on the station, but it told Earth everything. The signal contained video from the station's cameras. It showed 12 people trying to be peaceful. It showed them trying to communicate. It showed them dying. In Geneva, at the United Earth Coalition headquarters, the signal played on every screen. Military commanders watched. Political leaders watched. Citizens around the world watched as the news spread. They saw Minho trying to talk peace while his station burned. They saw Sora trying to help wounded friends. They saw young Yunha, barely 20 years old, sending her last message before the end came. The world watched 12 ordinary people die for no reason except that they existed. Something changed in humanity that day. Something old and angry woke up. Humans had spent centuries fighting each other. They knew war. They knew violence. They had tried to leave it behind, to be better, to reach for the stars with open hands. The Valkyrin Empire had just taught them a lesson. In the universe, open hands could get you killed. Now humanity would teach the Valkyrin a lesson in return. They had killed 12 humans. Soon, they would learn what 8 billion could do. The emergency session began at midnight. Every nation sent representatives to Geneva. The massive hall was full of people who had spent years arguing with each other about borders, resources, and politics. Tonight, none of that mattered. The video played again. 12 people dying in space. 12 people who had done nothing wrong. Ambassador Junho Kwon stood at the podium. He was a career diplomat, a man who had spent his life trying to prevent wars. His hands gripped the edges of the podium as he spoke. "They killed 12 of us," he said quietly. The room was so silent that everyone heard him. 12 miners, 12 scientists, 12 dreamers who wanted to touch the stars. The Valkyrin Empire broadcast their murders across their territory like it was entertainment. Like we were nothing. He paused. His voice grew stronger. "They made a mistake. They think we are weak because we came in peace. They think we are prey because we extended our hands in friendship. They are wrong. We have 8 billion people. We have factories on 3 worlds. We have weapons we stopped using because we thought we were better than war. Tonight we remember that sometimes war chooses you." The vote was unanimous. Every nation agreed. Earth would respond with total war. Within 24 hours, the transformation began. Factories that made transport ships started making warships. Scientists who studied medicine began studying weapons. Mining operations that dug for minerals started producing war materials. Admiral Mina Huang was called from retirement. She had commanded the fleet during the Mars Rebellion, the last time humanity fought a real war. She was 60 years old with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "How long do I have?" she asked the coalition leadership. "How long do you need?" They replied. Mina looked at the reports. She looked at what they had and what they needed. 6 months. "Give me 6 months and I'll give you a fleet that will make the Valkyrin regret they ever found us." General Do Hyun Yang took command of ground forces. He was younger than Mina, a veteran of corporate wars on Mars. He was known for being ruthless and efficient. When asked about his plans, he said simply, "I'm going to make sure they understand what it means to attack humans." Dr. Suho Cha led the weapons development team. Before the massacre, He had been designing engines for civilian ships. Now he designed death. His team worked 20-hour days. They studied every second of the Valkyrie attack, analyzing their weapons, their shields, their tactics. "They're strong," Suho told the military commanders, "but they're predictable. They've been winning for so long that they're arrogant. They don't adapt." "We will." Captain Ara Lim commanded a stealth ship called the Shadow. She volunteered for the most dangerous mission, to sneak into Valkyrie space and gather information. Ara was small and quiet, but she had nerves of steel. Her crew loved her because she was smart and she kept them alive. "I'll find their homeworld," she promised Admiral Mina. "I'll find where their commanders sleep, where their families live. I'll give you targets." Around Earth, the space stations transformed into shipyards. The asteroid belt mines sent every gram of metal they could produce. Mars turned its factories to war production. Even the colonies on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn contributed. The place where 12 humans had died became a symbol. Every ship in the fleet would carry the names of the fallen crew. The construction was massive. Earth built 300 warships in 6 months. Each one was designed with one purpose: to kill Valkyrie. They had stronger weapons than any human ship before. They had better armor. They had computers that could think faster than any Valkyrie commander. But the most important ships were smaller. Suho's team created something new. They called it the Reaper Protocol. These were automated war machines, small fighters with advanced artificial intelligence. They could learn from battle. They could adapt to enemy tactics in real time. They were terrifying. The Valkyrie have been fighting primitive species, Suho explained. Species that fight with honor, with predictable tactics. We're not going to fight with honor. We're going to fight to win. The Valkyrie didn't know any of this was happening. They thought they had crushed one small outpost of a weak species. Commander Thexcal was celebrated as a hero. He received medals and praise. The video of the massacre was shown in Valkyrie schools as an example of their empire's strength. Meanwhile, Captain Ara Lim and her stealth ship Shadow slipped into Valkyrie space. She spent 3 months mapping their territory, finding their military bases, their supply lines, their communication hubs. She found Valkyrie Prime, their homeworld. "It's beautiful," she reported back to Admiral Mina. "Big cities, billions of people. They feel safe there. They think they're untouchable." "Good," Mina replied. "Confident enemies make mistakes." Back on Earth, the families of the 12 dead crew members became symbols of the war effort. Minho's wife spoke at rallies. Sora's parents met with military planners. Young Unha's sister joined the fleet as a communications officer, determined to honor her sister's sacrifice. The public's anger was controlled but intense. People didn't shout for blood in the streets. Instead, they worked. They volunteered. They built. The war effort unified humanity in a way nothing else had. Old enemies became allies. Rich and poor worked side by side. Ambassador Junho Kwan tried one more time to contact the Valkyrie through diplomatic channels. He sent a simple message. "You killed 12 of our people. Surrender now and face justice or face extinction." The Valkyrie response came from Thexcal himself. He laughed. "We are the Valkyrie Empire. We bow to no one. Come and die like the rest of your weak species." Junho played that response for the coalition. "They've given us their answer," he said. "Now we give them ours." The fleet gathered near Mars, 300 warships, 50,000 support craft, 200,000 soldiers, millions of automated fighters. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Every ship was painted black with white stars. Every ship carried the same message on its hull. "Remember the 12. Admiral Mina stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Vengeance. Around her, officers prepared for the jump to Valkyrie space. She thought about the video she had watched so many times. 12 people trying to be peaceful. 12 people dying in fear and pain. "All ships," she said into the fleet-wide communication. "This is Admiral Huang. The Valkyrie Empire thinks we are weak. They think we are prey. They killed 12 of our people and called it a victory. Today we show them what humanity really is. Today we show them that we are not prey. We are predators. We are coming for them and we will not stop until they are broken." The fleet jumped. 300 warships disappeared from Mars orbit and reappeared deep in Valkyrie territory. But they didn't attack a military outpost. They didn't hit a border station. Admiral Mina took them straight to the heart of the Empire. They jumped directly to Valkyrie Prime. The Valkyrie had never been attacked at their homeworld. They had orbital defense platforms. They had fleets protecting their planet. They had millions of soldiers ready to defend their capital. It wouldn't be enough. As the human fleet appeared in the skies above Valkyrin Prime, Admiral Mina sent one message to their commanders. It was simple and cold. You took 12 from us. We're taking everything from you. Then the battle began. The Valkyrin defense commanders stared at their screens in confusion. 300 unknown ships had just appeared in orbit around their homeworld. It should have been impossible. Their early warning systems should have detected them hours away. Sound the alarm, the defense coordinator shouted. Launch all fighters. Activate the orbital platforms. The Valkyrin moved quickly, but they had never practiced for an attack on their homeworld. Why would they? They were the conquerors. They attacked others. No one attacked them. Admiral Mina watched from the bridge of the Vengeance. She saw the defense platforms powering up. She saw Valkyrin fighters launching from surface bases. She had expected all of this. She had planned for it. Release the Reapers, she commanded. From the human ships, thousands of small automated fighters launched. They were barely bigger than a car, but each one had more computing power than entire Valkyrin warships. They moved in perfect coordination like a school of fish or a flock of birds. Beautiful and deadly, the Valkyrin fighters met them first. The Valkyrin pilots were experienced warriors. They had fought in dozens of battles. They used standard attack formations, proven tactics that had won countless fights. The Reapers adapted in seconds. They analyzed the Valkyrin movements, predicted their patterns, and countered them. Within minutes, the sky was full of debris. Valkyrin fighters fell like burning rain. Impossible, breathed a Valkyrin commander watching from the surface. How are they doing this? The orbital defense platforms were next. These were massive structures with powerful weapons. They had protected Valkyrin Prime for 300 years. They had never fired a shot in anger because no one had ever gotten close enough. The human warships opened fire. Their weapons were different from Valkyrin technology. Suho's team had designed them specifically to break Valkyrin shields. The platform's defenses, so effective against other species' weapons, were useless. One by one, the platforms exploded. Each explosion lit up the planet below like a new sun. All platforms destroyed, an officer reported to Admiral Mina. Valkyrin fleet is launching from the far side of the planet. Let them come, Mina said calmly. She turned to her tactical officer. How long did that take? 1 hour, Admiral, Mina nodded. The Valkyrin had killed 12 humans in 17 minutes. She wanted them to understand the difference between murder and war. The Valkyrin main fleet came around the planet. It was impressive, nearly 500 ships of various sizes. These were veteran crews who had conquered worlds. Their commander, Fleet Marshal Kekstar, opened a communication channel. Human fleet, you have made a grave mistake coming here. His translated voice boomed. We are the Valkyrin Empire. We have crushed 1,000 enemies. You will be just another... Admiral Mina cut him off. I don't care about your speeches. You killed 12 unarmed civilians. Now you'll learn what happens when you attack humanity. The battle was brutal. The Valkyrin fought well. They were experienced and brave. But they fought like they always had, using tactics that had worked for centuries. The human fleet fought differently. They used strategies the Valkyrin had never seen before because humans had spent centuries fighting each other. Humans knew deception. They knew ambush. They knew how to turn an enemy's strength into weakness. Every dirty trick, every brutal tactic that humans had used against each other in countless wars, they now used against the Valkyrin. Captain Era Lim's stealth ship Shadow had been in orbit for hours before the main fleet arrived. When the Valkyrin fleet grouped together for their attack, she struck from behind. Her ship's weapons tore into the Valkyrin rearguard before they knew she was there. The Reapers swarmed like insects. They didn't fight with honor or formation. They attacked weak points, exploited damaged ships, and never gave the Valkyrin time to recover. When a Valkyrin ship's shields weakened, dozens of Reapers would focus fire on that exact spot. 3 hours into the battle, Fleet Marshal Kekstar realized they were losing. Half his fleet was destroyed or damaged. The humans had lost maybe 30 ships. It was impossible. The Valkyrin were the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Pull back to defensive positions around the planet, he ordered. No, Admiral Mina said, monitoring the Valkyrin communications. Captain Lim cut them off. Ara's Shadow wasn't alone anymore. 20 other stealth ships had been waiting, silent and invisible. They moved between the Valkyrin fleet and the planet, cutting off their retreat. The Valkyren were trapped between two human forces. They planned this, Kekstar whispered. They planned every second of this, he was right. Mina had spent 6 months studying everything about the Valkyren. She knew how they thought, how they fought, how they would react. The battle wasn't a fight. It was an execution. By the time the sun set on Valkyren Prime, their orbital defense was gone. Their fleet was shattered. Burning wreckage fell from orbit like shooting stars. General Do-Hyun Yang led the ground assault next. His troops landed in 50 locations simultaneously. The Valkyren ground forces tried to resist, but they were disorganized and shocked. Their entire worldview had shattered in a single day. They were supposed to be the strongest. They were supposed to be invincible. Do-Hyun's troops moved with precision. They didn't attack civilians. They went straight for military targets and government buildings. They wanted the Valkyren leadership, especially one person. Commander Thexkal, the one who had ordered the attack on the mining station, was found in a command bunker beneath the capital city. He had been watching the battle, unable to believe what he was seeing. The species he had killed so easily was now destroying his entire world. Captain Ara Lim was the one who found him. She walked into his command center with 20 soldiers behind her. Thexkal reached for a weapon, but Ara was faster. She didn't kill him. Those weren't her orders. Commander Thexkal, she said coldly, you are under arrest for the murder of 12 humans. You will stand trial. But first you're going to watch something. She pulled up a screen and showed him what was happening across the planet. Human forces were systematically destroying every military base, every weapons factory, every shipyard. The Valkyren Empire's military power was being erased in hours. Why? Thexkal asked. Why all this? We killed 12 of you. 12? This is too much. This is excessive. Ara's expression didn't change. You killed 12 miners, 12 scientists, 12 people who came in peace. You broadcast their deaths like entertainment. You thought we were weak. She leaned closer to him. Now you know different. We're not weak. We're merciful. We could have glassed your entire planet from orbit. We could have killed billions. But we're better than you. We're taking your ability to make war, not your lives. You'll live, but you'll never threaten anyone again. Thexkal was taken to the vengeance. Admiral Mina wanted him to see the aftermath. From the observation deck, he watched his world burn. Not the cities where civilians lived, but every military structure. Hundreds of years of Valkyren military might was reduced to rubble in a single day. 17 minutes, Admiral Mina said, standing next to him. That's how long it took you to kill our people. We've been here 12 hours. In that time, we've destroyed your fleet, neutralized your defenses, and captured your leadership. Do you understand now? Do you see the difference? Thexkal couldn't speak. He just stared at his dying world. Mina continued. You thought strength meant killing the weak. You thought power meant making others fear you. You were wrong. Real strength is what humanity showed when we came to the stars in peace. Real power is what we're showing now. We can destroy you, but we choose to show mercy instead. She turned to leave, then stopped. Your empire killed 12 humans. We could kill 12 million Valkyren in revenge. We won't. But we will make sure you can never hurt anyone again. That's the difference between us and you. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. The Valkyren Empire, conquerors of 47 systems, had been broken in a single day. Their homeworld was occupied. Their fleet was destroyed. All because they killed 12 humans. Other species watched and learned. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and they were not prey. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting 3 days after the fall of Valkyren Prime. The council represented 23 different species, all of them older and supposedly wiser than humanity. They had been watching the war with growing alarm. Ambassador Junho Kwon stood before them. He looked tired. He hadn't slept much since the war began. Ambassador Kwon, the council speaker began, your species has attacked the Valkyren Empire with overwhelming force. The council demands you stop this war immediately. Junho looked at the assembled aliens. Some looked concerned. Others looked afraid. Good, he thought. They should be afraid, no, he said simply. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. No one refused the Galactic Council. You don't understand, the speaker said. The Valkyren Empire is one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. Yes, they are aggressive, but they maintain order in their region. If you destroy them, there will be chaos. Junho's expression hardened. They murdered 12 unarmed civilians. They broadcast it as entertainment. And you did nothing. The Council knew about the Valkyrie's brutality for centuries. You knew they conquered and killed. You did nothing because they didn't threaten you. The galaxy requires balance, another council member said. Your response is disproportionate. 12 deaths do not justify this level of destruction. Junho stepped closer to the council table. His voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. Let me be very clear. Those 12 people were miners and scientists. They had families. They had dreams. They died begging for peace. The Valkyrie laughed and killed them anyway. If you think we will let that stand, if you think we will negotiate about justice for our people, you are mistaken. He paused. The war continues until the Valkyrie can never threaten anyone again. That's not negotiable. While the council debated, the human fleet moved through Valkyrie space like wildfire. Admiral Mina divided her forces. She sent smaller fleets to every major Valkyrie colony and military base. The strategy was the same everywhere. Arrive without warning, destroy military capability, leave the civilians alone. The Valkyrie tried to fight back. They had armies spread across 47 systems, but they were disorganized and leaderless. Their greatest commanders were dead or captured. Their communication networks were in chaos. They had never faced an enemy like this. Dr. Suho's Reapers became the stuff of nightmares. These automated fighters learned from every battle. By the second week of the campaign, they could predict Valkyrie tactics before the Valkyrie commanders even gave orders. They disabled ships without destroying them when possible, cutting their weapons and engines. They were efficient and terrifying. One Valkyrie admiral, trapped and surrounded, sent a message to the human fleet. Please, we surrender. Stop the attack, General Do-hyun Yang responded personally. You can surrender. But the war doesn't stop until we're satisfied you can never hurt anyone again. We're not here for territory. We're here to break your empire. The surrenders came in waves after that. Entire colonies gave up without fighting. Valkyrie soldiers abandoned their posts. The empire that had lasted 800 years was falling apart in weeks. But some Valkyrie wouldn't surrender. They fought desperately, trying to protect their worlds. The battles were bloody. Human soldiers died. Ships were lost. The price of victory was paid in blood on both sides. Captain Ara Lim led a difficult mission to a Valkyrie fortress world called Krell 5. This was where the Empire trained its elite warriors. The defenders there were fanatics who believed in Valkyrie superiority absolutely. The battle for Krell 5 lasted 3 days. The Valkyrie defenders fought for every building, every street. Ara's ground troops took heavy casualties. She lost friends and good soldiers. When the fortress finally fell, she stood in the ruins and felt tired. So tired, was it worth it? One of her soldiers asked. Ara thought about the video of the mining station. 12 people dying. Yes, she said. They need to learn. All of them. The death toll climbed. Millions of Valkyrie military personnel died in the fighting. Some humans questioned if the war had gone too far. Protests began on Earth. People carried signs saying 12 deaths don't justify millions. Admiral Mina addressed the fleet and the public in a broadcast. I understand the doubt, she said. I understand the question. But let me be clear about what we're doing. We're not killing for revenge. We're killing because if we don't, they'll do this again. To us or to someone else. She pulled up images on the screen behind her. These are the other species the Valkyrie conquered. 32 different civilizations. The Valkyrie enslaved some. They exterminated others. They've killed billions over their history. The Galactic Council knew and did nothing. The images changed. Now they showed Valkyrie military installations, weapons factories, slave camps. We're destroying their ability to make war. Yes, their soldiers die when they fight us. That's war. But we're not targeting civilians. We're not destroying cities. We're removing a threat to the entire galaxy. Public opinion shifted after that broadcast. Humans remembered that they weren't the first victims. They were just the first to fight back effectively. In the 4th week of the war, the remaining Valkyrie leadership sued for peace. They gathered on their colony world of Talak and sent a message to Admiral Mina. We surrender, the message said, unconditionally. Please stop, Mina considered. She looked at her tactical displays. The Valkyrie had less than 10% of their original military strength. Their shipyards were gone. Their weapons factories were destroyed. They couldn't rebuild for decades, maybe centuries. General Yang, she said on a private channel. What's your assessment? Do-hyun's face appeared on her screen. He looked older than when the war started. They're broken, Admiral. Completely, their military is shattered. Their empire is fractured. Even if we left now, they'd spend the next 100 years just trying to survive. Mina nodded slowly. Captain Lim, your opinion? Ara was on the surface of Krell 5, standing in front of a memorial her troops had built for their fallen comrades. We've done what we came to do. They know what it means to attack humanity now. Everyone in the galaxy knows. Admiral Mina made her decision. She opened a channel to the Valkyran leadership. We accept your surrender. Here are the terms. You will disarm completely. All weapons of war will be destroyed under human supervision. Your worlds will be monitored. You will face trial for war crimes, and you will provide reparations to every species you've harmed. She paused. You killed 12 humans. We've killed millions of you. Let that ratio teach the galaxy a lesson. Touch humanity and the price is extinction. The Valkyran agreed to everything. They had no choice, but Admiral Mina had one more thing to do. She ordered the fleet to gather every Valkyran military leader who had participated in the attack on the mining station. Commander Thexcal was already in custody. His crew of 300 was found scattered across Valkyran space. They were all brought to Earth. They would stand trial in The Hague, where humanity had once tried its own war criminals. The trials would be broadcast across the galaxy. Everyone would see justice done. The war was ending, but the message was clear. Humanity had come to the stars in peace. They had been met with violence. They had responded with overwhelming force. 16 million Valkyran military personnel had died, thousands of human soldiers too, all because 12 people died on a mining station near Europa. The galaxy watched and learned a new truth. Humans were not prey. They were predators who preferred peace but excelled at war. Attack them and they would not just defend themselves. They would make sure you could never threaten anyone again. The Valkyran Empire was finished, but humanity's message to the stars was just beginning. The trial began 13 months after the massacre at New Horizon Station. Commander Thexcal and his crew stood before judges from Earth's International Criminal Court. The courtroom was packed with observers from dozens of species. Cameras broadcast everything across the galaxy. Ambassador Junho Kwan served as the chief prosecutor. He was tired of war and death, but he had one more duty to perform: justice for 12 people who had died in peace. Commander Thexcal, Junho began, you are charged with the murder of 12 human civilians. You are charged with crimes against humanity. How do you plead? Thexcal stood in chains. He looked smaller than he had before. The proud warrior who had boasted of his victory looked broken now. What does it matter? You've already destroyed my empire. You've killed millions of my people. Nothing I say here will change that. You're wrong, Junho said quietly. This trial matters. It matters because we are not like you. We don't kill without justice. We don't destroy without reason. You murdered 12 innocent people. The galaxy will hear why you're guilty. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Evidence was presented carefully and clearly. The video of the attack was shown. Experts testified about the mining station's lack of weapons. They proved that Minho and his crew had tried to communicate peacefully. They proved the Valkyran had simply opened fire without provocation. Thexcal tried to defend himself. We are warriors. We claim territory. That's what empires do. You humans did the same thing in your history. Junho nodded. Yes, we did. We fought terrible wars. We committed horrible crimes. And we learned from them. We created laws. We created justice systems. We decided to be better. You chose to stay brutal. That's why you're here and we're judging you. The verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all counts. Thexcal and his senior officers were sentenced to life in prison. They would live, but they would live knowing they had destroyed their own empire by killing 12 humans. After the trial, humanity turned its attention to rebuilding. But not the Valkyran Empire. That was gone. Instead, humans helped the Valkyran people learn to live without war. Admiral Mina led the occupation forces. She was firm but fair. Military installations stayed destroyed. Weapons factories remained rubble. But humans sent food, medicine, and teachers. They helped Valkyran civilians build new lives. We're not conquerors, Mina told her staff. We're here to make sure they can never threaten anyone again. But we're also here to show them a better way. It was hard work. Many Valkyran were bitter and angry. They had been taught for centuries that strength meant dominance. Now they had to learn that strength could mean cooperation. General Do Hyun Yang worked with Valkyran leaders who wanted peace. There were some, mostly younger Valkyran, who had questioned their empire's ways. We don't have to be enemies forever, Do Hyun told them. But you have to prove you've changed. That takes time. Dr. Suho Cha's Reapers were deactivated. They had done their job. Suho looked at the war machines he had created and felt complicated emotions. I built these to protect humanity, he said. I hope we never need them again. Captain Ara Lim visited the memorial on Europa where it all began. The 12 statues stood there now, looking toward the stars. Minho, Sora, Jiho, Hana, Daiho, Yuna, Taiho, Nari, Wujin, Jina, Hyunwoo, Yunha, 12 names carved in stone. Ara placed flowers at the base of each statue. She had lost friends in the war. Good soldiers who would never go home. I hope we did right by you, she whispered to the statues. I hope this was worth it. 6 months after the trial, the Galactic Council invited humanity to join as a full member. Ambassador Junho Kwon stood before them again. This time, they looked at him with respect and fear. Ambassador Kwon, the council speaker said, humanity has proven itself formidable. We invite you to join the council and help maintain peace in the galaxy. Junho was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, and his words were heard on every world in the galaxy. We accept your invitation, but understand this. Humanity will not ignore injustice anymore. The Valkyran Empire was allowed to conquer and kill for centuries. You all knew. You did nothing. That ends now. He looked at each council member. We came to the stars hoping for friends. We found predators. We became something the predators fear. But we don't want to rule. We don't want an empire. We want peace. Real peace. Not the peace that comes from everyone being too afraid to fight. The council speaker nodded slowly. What does humanity want? We want a galaxy where a mining station can orbit Europa without being attacked. We want a place where scientists can explore without fear. We want what we've always wanted, to reach the stars in peace. But now the galaxy knows that if you touch our people, if you hurt our innocence, you'll face everything we have. All 8 billion of us, the message spread. Humanity joined the Galactic Council. They shared their technology. They made alliances. But every species understood the lesson. Humans were peaceful, creative, and kind. They built beautiful art and explored new worlds with wonder. They were also the most dangerous species in the galaxy when pushed. 10 years after the war, something remarkable happened. A Valkyran delegation came to Earth. They were young Valkyran who had grown up in the aftermath of the war. They had been taught by human teachers. They had learned a different way. They came to the memorial on Europa. They brought flowers and tears. We're sorry, their leader said. She was barely an adult, born during the war. We're sorry for what our people did, for what they took from you. We're trying to be better. We're trying to deserve the mercy you showed us. Captain Ara Lim was there. She was older now, retired from the military. She looked at the young Valkyran and saw genuine regret. You're not responsible for what your parents' generation did, Ara said gently, but you are responsible for what comes next. Be better than them. Teach your children to value peace. That's how you honor these 12 people. The young Valkyran bowed deeply. They placed their flowers with the others and left quietly. Humanity's reputation spread across the stars. Other species came seeking alliance. Some came seeking protection from their own aggressors. Humans helped when they could. They shared technology and knowledge. They built bridges between species, but they also built new ships, better weapons, stronger defenses. They would never be caught unprepared again. They would never let another 12 people die while extending hands in friendship. Ambassador Junho Kwon gave a speech on the 20th anniversary of the massacre. He was old now, his hair white, his face lined with years of diplomacy and war. 20 years ago, 12 humans died reaching for the stars. Their deaths could have been the end of our dream. Instead, it became a lesson. We learned that peace requires strength, that mercy requires power, that you cannot be naive about the universe. He paused, looking at the crowd of humans and aliens gathered before him. We also learned that we are not alone in wanting peace. The galaxy is full of species who dream of exploring, creating, and living in harmony. The predators are the minority. The Valkyran learned that the hard way. He smiled softly. We remember our 12. We will always remember. Their names are carved in stone. Their story is taught to every human child. They went to the stars in peace. They died in peace, and their deaths taught the galaxy that humanity will defend peace with everything we have. On Europa, the memorial stood eternal, 12 statues looking toward Jupiter and the stars beyond. Every day people came to visit, humans and aliens both. They left flowers and tokens. They read the names carved in stone. Minho, Sora, Jiho, Hana, Daiho, Yuna, Taiho, Nari, Woojin, Gina, Yunwoo, Yunha. 12 people who wanted to mine asteroids and study Jupiter's moons. 12 people who died for no reason except that they existed. 12 people who changed the galaxy forever. Below their names, one sentence was carved deep into the stone. It was written in every language humanity knew, and many alien languages too. It was simple and clear. They were 12. We are billions. Never forget, the galaxy never did forget. Humanity had come to the stars in peace. They had been met with violence. They had responded with overwhelming force and then mercy. They had shown that humans could be both kind and terrible, gentle and deadly. Other species learned to respect that duality. Some feared it. Others admired it. But everyone understood it. Touch humanity's innocence and you face extinction. Work with humanity in peace and you gain the most loyal allies in the galaxy. 20 years after 12 people died, humanity stood as one of the most influential species in galactic politics. Not because they had the biggest empire or the most weapons, though they had plenty of both. They were influential because other species trusted them to do what was right, even when it was hard. The Valkyrin became a protectorate of Earth. Over generations they changed. They learned to build instead of conquer. They learned to explore instead of dominate. It was slow and difficult, but they proved that even a warrior species could choose peace. Admiral Mina Huang lived to see it. She was 90 years old when she visited the Valkyrin homeworld and saw their first university dedicated to peace studies. She cried. All the death she had ordered, all the ships she had destroyed finally seemed worth it. They can change, she told reporters. Anyone can change. But sometimes, sadly, they need to be broken first before they can rebuild better. Captain Aura Lim spent her retirement teaching young officers.